Alright, good morning everyone. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, and today we're going to be continuing to test Selfless Spirit in Legacy Death and Taxes. So this testing session essentially began because of a conversation I had with Zach Koch about trying to fill the 2-drop void in D&T, as well as find something that could help protect key threats from opposing removal. He was talking about the lands matchup specifically, wanting something else that could protect from early, punishing fire so that you could, get that extra critical turn you needed to survive. And Selfless Spirit was the thing that we came up with. And sort of unexpectedly, in practice, the card ended up being surprisingly good, because it's a relatively aggressive 2-drop threat, sort of in the vein of Sarah Avenger, that you can actually cast on turn 2, though. So it does a lot of kind of useful things. It trades with the Delver. That's really important because, looking at the shell, I don't have that many creatures that can do it. In this build, I just have 6 creatures, and that's about normal. Sometimes you have even less than that. And that's nice, and it also protects from a lot of cards that can randomly hose the deck. So last time I streamed, what was that, Monday night, it protected my board from a Kozilek's return, and that's absolutely game-winning right there. So that's the sort of reasons we're trying it out for. And I think every time I've run Selfless Spirit in a deck, I've gone 4-1 or better. My sample size is still really small. I think I've done two leagues with it with a mono white shell and 1 league with it in a red white shell. So I can't make a lot of authoritative conclusions yet. But initial testing has shown this has been a promising shell. I want to take a second to talk about some of the sideboard changes that I made. So last stream I had 3 differences. I had 2 surgical extractions and Sword of War and Peace here. I looked at some of the numbers for the non-black-red Reanimator graveyard-based decks in the current metagame, and those numbers are really, really, really small right now, and the black-red Reanimator matchup's already pretty darn good. So I think I'm comfortable dropping down to 4 pieces of graveyard hate. And if I'm going to run 4, I'd rather have the 3rd copy of Rest in Peace than 1 surgical or 1 fairy. And then this kind of opens up 1 other surgical slot, the 1 slot that was the other surgical. And I was talking about wanting to bring in a package of Recruiter of the Guard and Leonin Relic Warder before, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do that now, cutting the Sword of War and Peace. Even though I dearly, dearly, dearly love that card, I think it might just be correct to not play it in this exact shell that I'm trying out to see if this added utility is more important. The Leonin Relic Warder is really, really important for the Sneak and Show matchup, because it helps you to deal with Omniscience, which is a relatively unbeatable card. And then the Recruiter is great for the check pile matchup, because this shell doesn't go all the way in one direction of beating check pile. If you just want to beat check pile, you can just beat up on them with Mirran Crusaders, and 4 copies of Mirran Crusaders plus 2 to 3 Recruiter of the Guards. That will just do them in. It's basically unbeatable. Or with the red-white build, every time you draw a Recruiter, it's a copy of Pia and Kieran Nalar, which is just a crazy, crazy, crazy amount of value, and it's really hard to beat. But in this shell, I only have 2 Crusaders, and that's the best thing I have to go and search up against check pile. And I have 7 cards that I need to board out for that matchup, for sure. It's these 7 right here, the Swords, the Plowshares, and the Revokers, and I probably want to get rid of the Prelate as well. And so with changing my board configuration, I can go 2 Rip, 2 Councils, 2 Cataclysms, 1 Recruiter for these 7. And then if I wanted, I could consider Rest in Peace number 3 over a Prelate, or consider a Canonist over a Prelate. So I think this will just give me more options and better flexibility in the matchup. Oh, hey, thank you very much for the auto host. You might not be around to hear that, but thanks. I'll be sure to host you again in the future. I've enjoyed your streams. All right, I don't have too much else to say, so I'm just going to go ahead and hop into it and just start jamming some games. I will still be doing my normal stream tonight at about 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, but this is a bonus stream because, well, I got a snow day. So for anyone who is just joining because of the auto host, hi, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, and today we're playing Legacy Death and Taxes. Specifically, we're playing a mono-white build that is testing a 2-of Selfless Spirit. Snow day on the spring equinox, yeah, no big deal. Yeah, it's been a really weird past month in terms of weather in Virginia. We keep like snapping back and forth between these 60-degree days and like random snowstorms. Yes, I know. Snow day on March 21st. Yes. It's a little weird. Oh, come on, opponent. I just want to play some Magic. Womp womp. How do you even play Pokemon Go with all that up and down weather? I've missed my streak a couple of times in the last few days. Let's put it that way. It's not been the greatest time. Alright, I have no data on my opponent, so I'm going to keep what is a slow but reasonable hand. Hey, thank you very much for subscribing. I appreciate it. Now you get access to my awesome emote. I say this a lot, but I've gotten a ton of support in various ways from, you know, the members of the chat here. Oh, is it the mirror? Oh, it's the mirror. Oh, it's not the mirror. It's the pseudo mirror? Hey, if your mom's disappointed, what will my mom think when I'm a cult leader? Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and just, like, play out a Stoneforge Mystic, intending next turn to, like, put in a Jitte and bounce their Thalia. Then they'll probably just play, like, Ancient Tomb, Thalia Heretic Cathar, make my Caracas come in tap. Then I'll be super sad, but whatever. I think my opponent is playing, like, some sort of, like, Eldrazi and Taxes list. Yeah. God, this is such a risky attack from my opponent. If I have... Or no, I guess it's not because the Batterskull Drone would enter tapped. Never mind. I take it back. Well, that is awkward. If I put in the Jitte, My opponent takes the Swords to Plowshares, and then I can't get through the Thought-Knot Seer and connect this turn. I think since my opponent has 2 threats that I can deal with via Caracas, I have time to just flicker with Stoneforge and get a different piece of equipment, so I'm going to just eat the Thought-Knot Seer here. Alright, what's my turn? I can bounce Thalia Heretic Cathar, play Wasteland, Flicker Wisp my Wasteland, Wasteland Ancient Tomb, or Caracas Thalia, play Flicker Wisp Thalia, Wasteland Cavern of Souls, or Caracas Big Thalia, play Flicker Wisp Stoneforge, get a piece of equipment. All my lines are insane this turn. Just absolutely every one. What is best? Getting another piece of equipment takes over this game, but I've already probably taken over this game in complete honesty. So taking a tempo play this turn is probably really, really good. I have way more resources than my opponent. I can probably just use my Caracas over the next few turns to just absolutely tempo them out. One way or another, my turn starts with this. And then I'm 100% going to play out a Wasteland. So, Cavern versus a Tomb is a question of, do I want to knock them off of their white mana, or do I potentially want to knock them off of a Thought-Knot Seer? Or Reality Smasher? I think the only way I lose this game is by getting aggroed out by some big idiot. So I think I'm going to make my plays accordingly, and just not lose to a big, like, top-decked Eldrazi creature. Well, looks like my opponent had another Thought-Knot Seer, but they also had the land, so moot point. Nope, opponent is just redeploying the Thalia. Opponent still got all the lands over there. And a Reality Smasher. Okay, so I'm dead in 3 hits to Reality Smasher. I have 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I take all of this, that's taking too much damage. On my next turn, I can plan on trading Flicker Wisp and Revoker for Reality Smasher. I probably should accept the Thalia trade here, even though I have the Caracas. The 2 points of life is going to be very, very relevant, because it might be the difference between, like, living and dying from, like, Reality Smasher trample damage, especially if my opponent has another Smasher. The other reason this block is good is because my next turn is going to be, like, port my opponent and play Revoker, assuming that I don't do anything else, so I'm not actually going to have the mana open to use the Caracas on my next turn. Or we could just draw like a fucking madman, and it does not matter. Alright, so I'm going to need to discard a card to this Reality Smasher, because I think they fixed that bug finally. So I'll plan on discarding a basic Plains to that. So I'll play Rishadan Port. Do I port my opponent, or do I just play a Revoker? Probably still port my opponent. Very early start. Thorn of Amethyst. Didn't have my Wheaties. Had an avocado, though. Here, that's good for you. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Now I have to decide whether or not I want to port my opponent or just, like, throw a Batterskull in play. And I think the answer is I just want to throw a Batterskull in play. Like, I'm 1 land away from just putting that on a Flicker Wisp and using that to ride out the rest of the game. Alright, opponent scoops it up. We're on the play or draw there. We're on the play. Alright, so we're essentially playing against, like, the white Eldrazi deck, or whatever you want to call it. So game 1, win with... We really won that game by drawing Caracas, as weird as that sounds. Like, we invalidated most of my opponent's early turns got equipment, they took the equipment, and then we had 2 Swords of Plowshares to deal with, like, the only 2 cards in their deck that mattered. So I'm going to attribute that win to both Caracas and double Swords to Plowshares. So, removal. In. Rally Recruiter and Council's Judgment in. Relic Warder, maybe. Prelate, definitely out. Some number of Thalias probably come out. Yeah, the paths have been really, really good for me. Just extremely good. So we're testing Selfless Spirit today, which is why we're a little lighter on things like Reanimator than we usually might be. 2 Serra Avengers became 2 Selfless Spirits. Maybe I don't need the Relic Warder because I don't know my opponent's exact build. I'm going to start with the Relic Warder in the side and maybe change my mind on it. Oh, hey, Elliot. Well, our hand's pretty great. We have an Ether Vial into, like, Stoneforge and Flicker Wisp off of it. Unless my opponent just chalices me. Yep. Alright, that's fine. We'll play this the slow way. So the thing about Selfless Spirit is you can just, like, flop it into play, and that's fine. Like, you don't care if your opponent sees that coming. Things are getting scary. I need to draw a plane so that I can Flicker Wisp the Chalice so that I can deploy the cards in my hand that matter. And we're going to get a Batter Skull here, because I have a feeling that we're going to be fighting from behind on this one, and that the game is going to go kind of long. Warping Whale, which my opponent overpaid for, so now they can't wasteland me? Wow. Wow. Everything's fine now, chat, because my opponent misplayed. That's awesome. Because now I get to Flicker Wisp this Chalice. And then, on my next turn, I get to Council's Judgment away the Jitte. And if my opponent Thought-Knot Seers, they can't take both Judgment and Path. If we win this game, it's because my opponent punted. I had no business in being in this game. Six mana? What the hell is 6 mana? Endbringer. Deal, sir. Deal. The bad news is my opponent actually has wastes in their deck. So they are going to get a land. That's fine. I don't care. Like they have plenty of mana. We're not fighting on the mana axis this game. I'm gonna play out both Aether Vials because my opponent's down to one card. It's somewhat likely that they just like brick on a draw step at some point, and then like these vials start to matter. Alright, Reality Smasher is annoying, but not the end of the world. However, the follow-up Spirit Guide so that he could equip this turn is quite annoying. Again, not the end of the world. We've got this Council's Judgment. It can answer either the Smasher or the Jitte. He used a Spirit Guide, Simian Spirit Guide. I think since I have a Recruiter, and next turn I can Recruiter for Revoker, revoke Jitte, I actually want to spend my turn removing the Reality Smasher so I don't just die to aggro. Yes, I got a snow day today. We got a winter storm warning, and it's pretty gross outside. One of my other roommates got off of work. The other two went out, but I don't envy them. No, we're not gonna get a second recruiter. We're not gonna get greedy. There's an opposing Jitte on board. You don't mess around with that sort of thing. And now we're real safe. We have a backup Revoker. That Jitte is not getting online. Yeah, like we're not 100% to win. Like my opponent can still like draw something big and stupid like a Reality Smasher and get back into this game. Like so. But like we have a very aggressive clock as well. So my opponent hits me to 10, and then I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have my opponent dead in 2 hits. So, like, I could still very much die to a top-decked second Reality Smasher. Sure, we die to another Reality Smasher off the top. Yeah, that's fine. Like, that's acceptable, right? My opponent now has to hold back their Reality Smasher on defense, though. They can't make another attack in unless they have another good creature. Yeah, I can make a double attack in and put my opponent to 1, but doing so would open me up to a Warping Whale blowout, because my opponent could block one of these, Warping Whale the other, and then I'm just, like, stone cold dead. So I think I'm just gonna, like, wait one more turn, and then go for a much safer attack. And my opponent scoops it up there. Alright, so we're on the draw for that one, and we win. Game 2 win by revoking Jitte and stabilizing board. Easy peasy. I don't really think my opponent should have conceded there, because if my opponent just holds up a bunch of mana, there's some possibility that I just don't go for a lethal attack, and I just, like, move the Batterskull to Crusader, threatening to just, like, gain a shit ton of life. So I think they have another turn to still be alive, potentially. But, you know, once the Batterskull is on this Crusader, like, the game is probably effectively done. You forgot your opponent punting. Sure did. Sure did. Yeah, Minifer, this is a snow day stream, because apparently I get a second snow day in March, maybe even a third if it keeps up at the rate it's going. Alright, so for anyone who wasn't here at the beginning, we are again testing Selfless Spirit in Legacy. It's Zach's fault, blame him. It's actually been really good so far. Changes I made from the last stream: -2 Surgical, -1 Sword of War and Peace, +1 Recruiter of the Guard, +1 Relic Warder, and up to the 3rd Rest in Peace. Yeah, I think that my opponent punting by paying 3 mana for their Warping Whale and not wastelanding me very likely cost them the game. Like, if they had wastelanded me, I wouldn't have gotten to Flicker with the Chalice until the following turn. Then they would have already had some pressure on me. My chances of winning are much lower. Alright, this hand looks pretty great. Very likely keeping this. We'll see if I have any data on my opponent. I do not, so we'll just keep what is probably a great hand in the dark. We're on the play for this one. Do you mean equipping Batterskull on Crusader is insane, as in it's insanely good? Or as it's an insane play, like you'd have to be crazy to do that and not just go for the win? What do I want to do this turn? I can just play Aether Vial playing for the long game. Like, play Aether Vial, play Wasteland, that way if my opponent wants to, like, end of turn Brainstorm, I get to snipe their land. Or I can just slam the Jitte, and against some decks, I'll just, like, tap Vial for Mom, end of turn, equip Mom, bash, go to town like that. but I think just playing this one slower is probably fine. Oh, super great. Okay, yeah, I agree. That is probably the line I would have taken if my opponent just passes with a billion mana up, is to not get blown out by something stupid. Or multiple stupid things. So my opponent had just F6'd through that tail end of their turn there. That makes me think they're probably on a combo deck of some nature. Kind of feel like it's just show and tell. So what do I want to do in the face of that? Probably just cast Jitte, play Caracas, have Flickerwisp to put in off of a show and tell. That way I can deal with an Omniscience. Alternatively, if I think they're show and tell, I can just hide the Caracas, keep Wasteland up, put in Flickerwisp off of show and tell, and then have Caracas if they play an Idiot. I think I like that better. So I'm pretty sure my opponent is on a combo deck, but I'm not confident enough to do the poke for one here. I don't think the poke for one matters enough. So the difference is that keeping the Caracas in hand plays around show and tell for Fatty, whereas playing the Caracas would play around something like, say, like Soul Land, Sneak Attack, Spirit Guide, or Petal, or I guess Petal in this deck, into Idiot. Alright, well, in the lack of other things to do in borderline zero information about my opponent, Path? Is this just the Miracles with the Path in the flex slot instead? If my opponent, like, has Path in their deck, and, like, presumably counterspells as well, why on earth did they F6 through my end step? Yeah, so it's possible that my opponent just, like, didn't have an end step stop, and that's why I got to put that Mom into play. So maybe I read too much into my opponent's actions. considering overextending into a Terminus here. I don't think I'm going to do it. Damn you, Luxac opponent! I'm going to deal with this via the Swords to Plowshares, because I want to keep my Jitte counters to deal with this Jace, rather than like use them to get rid of the Mentor. I'm not going to play around main deck Flusterstorm. So my opponent just played this Mentor into my onboard Jitte that has 2 counters on it. That's showing me that they have another spell. So I'm just going to go ahead and attack in, swinging at this Jace. And, you know, if they block to chump, that's fine. If they, like, brainstorm or something like that, I can just pump Mom twice. If they have double spell, it's kind of annoying, but, like, I can still take down the Mentor. you have Swords to Plowshares after all of that? Nope. Okay, so you're just doing this purely to get another monk. Yep, that was telegraphed pretty easily by what my opponent did. Yeah, if we don't stop the blue boy, we're just gonna die. And my opponent didn't shuffle with the ponder, so that doesn't bode well for me. So this is just gonna be like a Snapcaster for a path the Revoker, then do more Jace things. This is a Portent targeting themselves. I mean, this matchup is tricky, period, now. This is not a good matchup anymore. You know, in like the pre-top banning days, this was a good matchup for D&D. Now it's just not. It's very... I don't know that it goes so far as, like, very unfavorable, but it's absolutely unfavorable to some extent. A lot of the Miracles players I talk to say it's one of their best matchups. I don't know that that's actually true, but it is definitely a good matchup for them. That Snapcaster represents a decent amount of damage over time. The data I collected back then suggested that it was a very, very good matchup for D&T. And whenever I played against like the higher caliber Miracles players, you know, people like Honorog and whatnot, I felt like I was the one in the driver's seat for most of those games. Yeah, 100% not arguable is not in D&T's favor anymore. Anyone who says Miracles currently is a good matchup for D&T is just wrong. Alright. This turn, it depends on whether or not I actually want to cast anything for what I want to do. If I'm comfortable casting something, I can go like Recruiter for Flicker Wisp, Recruiter Shenanigans. Or I can just go and get like the Revoker to stop Jace. I have a lot of lines available to me. I think I'm going to cut my opponent's resources a little bit. And take action on their turn. So the nice thing here is that I'm going to get a shuffle from this Jace activation. Ooh, my opponent puts it on the bottom. Great. We're going to play this one super slow. I'm just going to get another Recruiter. This plays around my opponent having a Swords to Plowshares and using it on their end step a little bit better. Yep. I think that putting both vials to 3 is a very risky play that punishes hard if it doesn't work out. Opponent shuffles with the Ponder. I think this is time to get Sword of Fire and Ice. That way, like, Jace bouncing creatures ceases to be an out. And that's insane. Okay. Bad news, friend. Alright, successfully played around Terminus by getting the Revoker. Hopefully this is enough. Well, like, my opponent essentially cantripped 3 times last turn, right? So, like, you... To a certain degree, you have to expect some amount of additional interaction from them. I'm just going to attack with 1 piece of equipment here, because I can't kill Jace regardless, and if this Revoker eats a removal spell, I want to play Mom and equip that. Okay, sure, if I port the white mana source before equip, they just, like, float the mana, right? And then I equip, and I'm sad. Alright. Slog continues. We'll try again. Yup. Flicker Wisp. Not Flicker Wisp. Alright, so playing versus Miracles. We lost game 1 to Kedrosk 2. Game 1 loss to Unchecked Jace, despite many attempts at answering. Back to Basics is a totally reasonable sideboard card. So we definitely want those 5 cards. Relic Warder and Canonists are maybe. Our opponent's playing a bunch of Mentors, so we might not want to cut Swords to Plowshares completely. Against non-mentor builds, my plan is usually cut 4 Swords to Plowshares, trim 1 late game card. I'll probably keep in about 2 Swords to Plowshares. This isn't really a Selfless Spirit matchup. It's just a 2/1 flyer. And at that point, I think I'd just rather have something that crashes in for a little bit more damage. Could potentially do what I did before and trim a Mother of Runes in fear of just losing an extra body to Terminus. It's also possible that I could just, like, cut both of these, play a random Canonist to blank Snapcaster Mages. I'll do this. This is an unexciting but fine hand. Alright, so everyone keeps mentioning Jim Davis's list. Like, why are you going to Jim Davis for advice on Miracles? Like, I think he is a great, you know, Magic player, but, like, there are a lot of people I would turn to for Miracles advice before Jim Davis. Like, I trust the opinions of, like, the dedicated Miracles grinders and, like, dedicated, like, Legacy players much more so than, like, a random pro who happens to play Miracles when there's a Legacy event. You know, feel free to change my opinion on that, but, like, I'm much more likely to, like, just follow whatever list that, you know, the people on the source that are frequently posting all the time or are writing the primers are doing. For whoever posted about, like, Ghost Quarter as a viable budget alternative, there is a link in the chat to my thoughts on that issue. Miracles is such a good deck. Against Death and Taxes. More generally, maybe not, but this matchup's so bad. Fuck! Alright. Alright. Rude, sir. Yes, Minifer, I recognize your name. I really want to get this file into play for long-term benefits, but in the short term, I'm terrified of my opponent just, like, tapping out for a Jace and just wrecking me. There's, like, no way, no way that anything I do this turn works out. I'll start by casting a Vial. If this resolves, I'll go for the Equip. This is then going to eat a Swords to Plowshares. And I'm not actually going to get Jitte counters. Okay. I accept this. We are not playing Cavern in this build. Since we're playing the Selfless Spirits and we have a decent amount of creature-type variety, there are no Caverns. This is something that makes us worse against Miracles, but much better against Delver. This is a Containment Priest. Sure. Oh, thank you very much for the auto-host. You're gonna watch me lose this game, and then we'll play some reasonable Magic. For anyone who is joining in, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University. We're currently testing a Selfless Spirit version of D&T. What are your thoughts about modern death and taxes? Well, my thoughts are that modern is basically unplayable. I don't enjoy it as a format. And I don't really love D&T in the format. I've tried multiple times. But I don't think D&T is a good enough deck in Modern to justify actually wanting to play it. Dave C., thank you very much for the auto-host. So, again, for anyone joining in, my name's Phil Gallagher. We're currently playing Legacy Death and Taxes, testing Selfless Spirit. I'm currently getting my teeth kicked in by Miracles. Fuck. But we'll We'll go back to winning after this game. Great. I like that you're enjoying it. The site's been a labor of love. I've been working on it for... It'll be like 2 years in June now. Sorry, Chad, I'm gonna ignore you for a bit. God damn it. This one's not working out, chat. Need to draw a wasteland to deal with the search. Oh, Z by Wonder, thank you for auto-hosting. So my opponent will probably just use the search now. I'll tap another one of their lands. Fuck. Search for Azcanta is a very strong magic card. It's not, you know, busted or broken in any way. It's just very, very good. Like it gets checked by a wasteland once it flips. That's fine for Legacy. My favorite part about this game is the part where I'm pretending that I'm not dead. Actually... Alright. More backup, Jace. Just kill me. Just like, Council's Judgment this sword and end me. Please. Alright, so my opponent now has Search, Mentor, and Jace, and I can't get through with the Stoneforge. So we're basically drawing to Cataclysm wipe the board. Yeah, we're getting wrecked here. Nice Cataclysm artwork. Yeah. All right. That's enough. That's plenty. We lost the Jace War there. The opponent having like Brainstorm into Terminus Terminus in the early game was really rough, and that gave them a ton of time. All right, folks. So here is the deck list for those of you that joined in after hosting. If you have any questions about the deck list, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I'm going to take 30 seconds here and run to the restroom before I start the next match. Yeah, so like that's the thing about the new Miracles deck, right? Because they have multiple card advantage engines now, you know, you usually use to Jace, but just as easily if you don't have Wasteland, you can just lose to Search for Azcanta drawing a card every turn. And a Monastery Mentor on a naked board gets out of control very, very quickly as well, especially when you have fewer outs to it in post-sideboard games. My opponent was last seen playing lands. But my opponent has results with a bunch of decks, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I don't know how someone... Wait. Double queuing in 2 Legacy Leagues? Can you do that? Or does, like, or are they double queuing in, like, something and a Legacy League, and it just, like, listed the Legacy League? The bot being messed up is also fair, yeah. Alright, opponent confirmed lands. Game 1's rough. Games 2 and 3 are fine. I have never tried double queuing, so I can't confirm or deny any of that. Like, if you're playing Magic right, then, and, like, actually focusing on your game and, like, trying to optimize your win percentage, there's too much going on for you to double queue. You don't hate this matchup? Yeah, but I'm playing the mono white version right now. We don't have the free wins here. Damn it. We needed to dodge Punishing Fire for that turn. Now our port's gonna get wastelanded, and then we're probably just done. Apex planes are great planes. Yeah, this is the line I would have taken if I was my opponent. So they don't have Loam. They don't have Grove of the Burn Willows right now. But I'm not doing shit. So that doesn't matter. Yes, my sideboard is relatively stock for this. My deck list tab has a couple different examples of stock sideboards. Let me link that for you. I'm going to name a card that I'm more scared of instead of a card that my opponent has more copies of. Like, at this point, if they draw a Mox, I don't really care. Alright, opponent gets the redraw. Did you get one of your game-winning cards yet? Not yet. We're somehow still in this game. Opponent drawing like garbage. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yes, our hand is hot garbage, but the opponent's hand is also hot garbage. So they're probably going for Loam. Although they might just go for the Grove. Because, like, getting Grove and returning Punishing Fire now is just insane. Glacial Chasm. Did they gamble for that, or was that in their hand? That's interesting. There's false hope here. I don't know that Gamble for Loam is bad when my opponent has Exploration and, like, Thicket and Canopy, and they had a Chasm in hand, so I don't actually think that's bad. Oh shit, second Exploration too. Well, this one went down the shitter real quick. We're not dead. We're just in terrible, terrible shape. Oh, I see, yeah. So my out now involves them paying 2 life for Glacial Chasm, missing on a Grove, and then I get to Flicker Wisp Chasm and hit for the final points of damage. That is my out. Drawing a Plains so that I can Recruiter for Prelate buys time as well. But it really needs to be a basic so that I don't get destroyed by the 4 Wastelands on the other side of the table. Game 1 against lands is not good. The post-sideboard games are fine, because like then you have like Prelates and Rest in Peace as ways to shut off the game, instead of just like the one of Prelate. Alright, so my opponent now has the Dark Depths. And 2 of their Wastelands are actually Thespian Stage. So within the next turn or 2, I will be facing down Merit Lodge every turn for the rest of the game. Oh, this is miserable. Alright, it's a Plains. So I can't Flicker Wisp it right now and go for a lethal attack. That's not going to work. We'll make a statement here. Maybe Moto will bug out and not prevent the damage. When those are the outs you're playing to, life is rough. Alright. So really glad my opponent played this the way that they did. This means that right now both of their Thespian stages are tapped, so if I go to flicker their Glacial Chasm, they don't have another one up to make another copy. So, if my opponent doesn't put in another stage and depths this turn to create a blocker, I now have lethal damage because of the 1 extra power of the Recruiter. No, they don't play more than 1 Chasm. Like, they hardly want to play the 1. It's not a great card, except for when it is. Like, most of the game, you're not far enough ahead that you can, like, just keep sacrificing lands in order to, like, just keep the shields up forever. Yeah, like once you're into the late stage and you have an exploration and a loam, it is a lock, because like you have chasm and stage, and then like every other turn you alternate playing them. Ah, shit. I no longer am presenting lethal. Ugh. Now we're 1 point short of lethal. Damn it, they have Barbarian Ring too? Fuck. So now I need to like rip Wasteland this turn so I can Wasteland Barbarian Ring. Damn it. Actually, this is fine, right? I use a Flicker Wisp this turn, flicker the Chasm, bash in for 5. This shuts off these 2 as mana sources, and then I can try to do it again. Alright. We also have the out of my opponent failing to pick the right mode of Barbarian Ring or Horizon Canopy to activate, and killing themselves. Right? That's a non-zero out, right, chat? Chat? Yes, we are definitely playing towards my opponent making errors at this point. They have a lot of resources available to them. There are so many different ways that I can die. Yeah, so they have 2 stages. They have Thespian Stage and they have Wasteland Thespian Stage. Yes, right. So a misclick with Barbarian Ring or Horizon Canopy is lethal. God, I hope I don't have to Swords to Plowshares a Merit Lodge. Fuck! Alright. Now what? This is bad. I'm at a point where I can't play around everything that they have. So I can't effectively make a Flicker Wisp attack. I can't effectively reset Revoker because I think they have a land as their last card in hand. Or if not, they'll just, like, Horizon Canopy and get another land. Like, that's not an issue. I can just play the Spirit and hope to set something up for a later turn. So I can play Spirit and hold up Swords to Plowshares, the Merit Lodge that they make at my end step. Barbarian Ring is in play, so I can't just prelate. So I can't really just Flicker Wisp Chain, right? If I try to Flicker Wisp Chain, they just, like, Molten Vortex shoot whatever I blink. And then I'll just die to the Merit Lodge. Alright, we're gonna give him 20 life and try to wiggle through. Do we play for win via clock if my opponent is down 7 minutes? Chat, that's a fair point. No, sir. No. My creatures are indestructible. You can't destroy them. Yes, that is accurate. I do not expect to win this game. Alright, opponent showing they know how Thespian Stage Glacial Chasm works. But doing so, they can't actually attack me. So that might have been an error, right? Is that, like, game-losing bad, chat? Do we just blink the Glacial Chasm now, swing in with everything, and get there? Holy shit. Holy shit. Oh god, yes, please, just keep fucking tapping mana. Just keep tapping mana. Okay, so if they have land left in hand, then... Oh no, so now that they played Thespian Stage, if I go to flicker the Chasm, then that doesn't work, because they just pay, they tap 2 mana, copy Chasm again. So now what? Loam and P-Fires are in the graveyard, Barbarian Ring is in hand, so Prelate doesn't actually do anything right now. I guess it makes them tap mana. That's not irrelevant. I can't just tap out for this sword, because if I do so, they Vortex the Flicker Wisp and kill me. So that's unfortunate. Okay, chat, I'll buy that. Like, intend on winning via clock and just blow time. I agree. Flickering Revoker to get Vortex is not a thing. That doesn't actually work. Like, they have lands in hand, so if I go Flicker Wisp, target Revoker, they just, like, use Vortex and throw one at the Revoker. Or alternatively, if I get it on that, then they just, like, Barbarian Ring it away. Scumbag Wasteland coming a little bit too quick, or too late, excuse me. Opponent really should have just gone for, like, end step, Wasteland by Wasteland, I fire it off at one of these, then they copy, create Merit Lodge, Molten Vortex, kill Spirit, swing in, kill me. Go, little buddy! Go! Get him! Get him! No! Magic is silly. Where's the lightning bolt? We need the lightning bolt. We don't have lightning bolt, we have like the opposite of lightning bolt. We have give my opponent life. Yes, we are trying to clock win my opponent. If my opponent was playing like at a reasonable pace and like anywhere on like par with my clock, I wouldn't do this. But they're really, really far behind in that regard. So might as well play towards it. Cunning Spark Mage would be real good. So we were really, really close to taking this one from multiple angles. Yeah, my opponent did have many opportunities to go for the win sooner, and they did not take them. So game one, narrowly lose attrition-based game when opponent stabilizes at 1. Paths in, rips in, Relic Warder Recruiter in, Cataclysm maybe. So I think my plan for this matchup is just like not lose. And by that I mean I'm going to board defensively rather than like offensively. My opponent has shown me Molten Vortex. But if I'm going to be playing a bunch of Rest in Pieces, the Revoker is less necessary. I may keep some of these in still. I'll probably trim a couple Swords to Plowshares, but keep most of them. I'll trim the Mirren Crusaders. They're not particularly good. And then I guess I'll trim one piece of equipment. I guess it's Jitte. And then I still have, like, these Cataclysms to fit in. Which is awkward. I guess I could go down all the Swords to Plowshares. Could also like trim Athalia, keep one. This hand has an Ether Vial and a bunch of creatures, so we're keeping. Short-term plan is go aggro. Long-term plan is put a prelate in play. Assuming the Vial sticks around, we have the ability to answer 2 Merit Lodges as is. Port is $9? That's insane. Do you get Exploration Gamble here? Or Exploration Second Exploration? Exploration Second Exploration. And a Dark Depths. Alright. We'll plan on porting our opponent, just deny them mana, decrease the possibility of them just going... Oh man, that's all the lands they have. Alex Bertoncini is the person you're thinking of. Alright, and like here you see my opponent doing a very early concession. That is like them respecting their clock. So game 2, opponent bricks on lands after mulligan. Maybe they should play more lands. Well, if ports are $9, this seems about like the best time to possibly pick them up. I think I got mine for close to 100 back when I originally got them. Who said they were $9? Oh, is it like $9 online? Never mind. That makes sense. Really tempted to just wasteland my opponent, but I can play for the long game and they can't. So I'm not going to do that. I'll just get a violent play. I can just double Wasteland here. It's awkward if my opponent has crop rotation, so I want to do it during their turn. If they crop rotation for like another red-green source, I just Wasteland that a second time. This would be awkward in the face of a Life from the Loam, though. Otherwise, I can just like plan to Wasteland once and Vile. This is a tricky turn. Like, the double Wasteland play is awkward in the face of crop rotation, but otherwise probably game-winning. I think I like the double Wasteland. Like, my opponent's close to timing out. And if I double Wasteland, they're not going to be able to loam this turn. Must have Grizzlebrand, yeah. But I've got the Karakas to play around Grizzlebrand. Oh, or it can just work. Didn't expect that. So they kept their hand based on the strength of Grove and Punishing Fire. Curse and Grip my Vial. That is slightly annoying. All right. Oh my god, my opponent doesn't even have Threshold for Barbarian Ring. No, like, the Barbarian Ring doesn't matter, right? Like, there's no threshold for this. See if we get, like, destroyed by a second Krosan Grip. Yay, more Krosan Grip. Triple Caracas Dream Team. No way Marit Lage is getting through all of this. Haha! The joke is on you. More Punishing Fire. That's annoying. Alright, so what do we have? 3, 6, 7, so exactly threshold. So what does that mean for me? I can get Prelate. My opponent has to tap Mox Diamond to use Barbarian Ring to destroy Prelate. Then they can, I guess, use Thespians. This Ancient Tomb is quickly getting shut off. I'm trying to figure out whether or not it's better to, like, Recruiter for Flickerwisp Recruiter, then get Prelate once the Barbarian Ring has gone to the graveyard to deal with some of my stuff. Or, like, forcing my opponent to keep the Barbarian Ring around. And I think that's what I want to do. So this might actually be a misplay on my opponent's end, because they've now gone off of Threshold. Unsure. Depends on what else they've got going on. So there's 3, 6, so there's 7 in the graveyard again. So I think I'll do the same song and dance, ending in prelate this time. And the opponent scoops it up. Alright, so game 3 is a win. Game 3 win via early double wasteland. That really set my opponent so far behind that they couldn't just easily catch up. Alright, so we're currently 2-1. I don't like playing against lands on stream because, like, Magic Online is a different game from Paper Magic. Like, just because of the differences in how the clock works, how you play out the games in some cases changes. So, like, how you play against lands online and how you play against lands on paper are very, very different things. So, like, on paper, game 1, I probably would have scooped up much, much earlier than I did for the sake of clock. No rip, still won. Yeah, like, Rest in Peace is the best card against their deck. Like, even if we had it that game, they had double Croson Grip. So they could have dealt with it pretty easily. Do I run Prelate main? In my mono white build, I usually run a Prelate main. In the red-white, if I have it, it's usually in the sideboard. No data on my opponent. This is a reasonable hand. I'll keep it. This would be a great hand against like a Delver deck. Maybe Reanimator. No play. No Entomb there. Oh, we got there in time. What's Double Swamp mean, chat? Fringe deck? Gut says Fringe deck. Or maybe the mono black Reanimator? But, like, why would you keep a hand that doesn't do anything on turn 1 or 2 if you're that deck? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Could just be a weird mono black controlled deck, too. Mono black Nick Fit. Oh, just F6. Don't have removal. I'll get a Batterskull. I assume they've got to have, like, discard or something over there, right? Like, they got to be doing something. Pox on a bad draw. I literally do not think you can keep a Pox hand that does not interact on turns 1 or 2. Alright, so it is the weird mono black Reanimator deck, and my opponent is just, like, on a terrible draw. So now do they just go in, sacrifice their other swamp to cast a Grave Titan? Then I Swords to Plowshares the Grave Titan and play Batterskull and win? I like this line. unmask Exiling Grave Titan. So they'll take my Swords to Plowshares. And then they just go all in on their Grave Titan. Okay. So how do I beat a Grave Titan? Putting a Batterskull on a Mirren Crusader would do it, but I need to rip land in order to do that. So I guess this turn is Mom and put in Batterskull. I can chump the Grave Titan with the Batterskull, then Flicker Wisp the Batterskull again, then put in Mirren Crusader and give myself time to draw lands. So if I just play Crusader, my opponent is just going to start building up a zombie army, right? If I play Mom and Batterskull this turn, then, like, long-term, the Mom walls the Grave Titans, the Batterskull deals with the zombies. I guess technically I should tap this land. Actually, I think I'm going to change my mind and just take this 6. So, like, 100% no matter what, this Batterskull's coming in. If I just take the 6 on my next turn, I can trade, like, Batterskull Germ for Grave Titan by also playing Crusader. So I think that's my line. Might get punished for the attack now if my opponent has a removal spell, but since they didn't have another land, I didn't play around that. Literally do not care about that. What do I want to play around? Keeping Exhume in mind, I should probably play something that I want to put into play, and I think that's a Stoneforge Mystic. Because then if I rip one land, I can go and... Alright, so opponent has a Reanimate, they get to draw 7, I'll get to bounce this Grizzlebrand, so I don't really care about that. I just care if they, like, go off now. Fucking Massacre Worm? God damn it. Massacre Worm's some bullshit. Probably on no outs. Oh, that was a bad block because the Massacre Worm gave her everything. -2, -2. Wow, that was brutal. Alright, so we're on the draw there and we lost to Kuru. So game 1, opponent has Lake of the Dead hand, then produces Grave Titan, Grizzlebrand, and Massacre Worm. Yeah, that was not something I expected. I didn't, like, once my opponent got the Grizzlebrand, I didn't expect that they were still going to have Massacre Worm. I'm not overly familiar with the Mono Black Reanimator deck lists. I've only played against it a handful of times. We'll basically board in our entire sideboard. We'll probably get rid of the entire Stoneforge package or very, very close to it. So, like, the Crusader's really awkward in this matchup because it's really good against, like, whatever random creature that they go and put into play, but it's pretty bad as far as, like, it doesn't hate on the opponent at all. Maybe I want to have one in the deck to just have as a tutor target. Has Holy Light been good for you? I am not playing Holy Light. This is close to a keep. Like, if we discount the second Thalia, this is a pretty great 6. Unsure if this is better than a, 6 with a Scry, though. Oh, sorry. My opponent has, like, a Lake of the Dead-based hand. This is insane. My opponent has a slower hand. This is really good. Reluctant keep. Who's this Thoughtseize targeting? Targeting me. You got it. I mean, if they have like a Thoughtseize Entomb Reanimate type hand, then we're not beating that, you know. The Dark Ritual on turn 1's scary. Yeah. Alright. So they poop a turn 1 Grave Titan. Well, that is half of the equation we need to get through that. Alright, top card needs to be Swords to Plowshares. Alright, that's a little late to the party. I guess I can technically live for 1 more turn, right? I can chump Grave Titan, take out 2 zombies, and get 1 more draw step. Oops, I forgot to violin the Containment Priest. I don't think that matters. Alright, so I get to path the Grave Titan and try not to die to zombies. Containment Priest, it says non-token. It's unfortunate, but I think I need to throw away the Containment Priest here to save 2 points of life. If I brick on another creature, I really, really, really need to save this 2 points. Now I have to think about whether or not I want to tick this up to 3. If I draw a white 3-drop, like Flicker Wisp, I really want to have this at 3. Otherwise, I probably want to have it on 2 to play around something like a Collective Brutality, killing the Thalia pre-combat. So I think I'm going to leave it at 2. Rewarded. Yeah, Grave Titan is a decent magic card against D&T. And we're gonna make a block here to not die to Collective Brutality. Alright, opponent reanimates Provoker. They'll name my Ether Vial. I'll be slightly sad, but not that sad. Alright, I don't know what's so hard here. Maybe opponent is trying to like name Schadenport and figuring out that they can't name lands. That would be my guess. Phil's a bully, hence it's always sad inside. It's the real truth. Oh my god, opponent, just name a card. I guess we're gonna pass. Actually, yeah, we're gonna pass. If I draw another land, I might get into the territory where I'll consider, like, attacking with a Thalia, then playing another Thalia post-combat. For right now, I'll just keep saying always no to that. It's unfortunate we just died of that, don't we? Yep. Super unfortunate. Alright. So game 2 lost to... We really lost to the early Grave Titan, if we're being completely honest. Like, that's the card that beat us. Phyrexian Revoker did the chip damage, but the Grave Titan is what really got us there. Alright, so we've kind of done a mediocre flip-flop back and forth this league. We got one more left. I'm going to go ahead and refill my water bottle before the last match. Oh, no, I didn't talk about the straw poll results. Sorry, I forgot to do that. So I sent out a straw poll to my subs asking what they wanted to see for a bonus stream, and overwhelmingly the response was that people wanted to see Soldier Stompy. My card hoarder stuff still hasn't gone through. Waiting on that. Once that happens, that will be happening. You know, hoping to knock out a few streams this weekend. My opponent plays Storm. I've played against them a decent amount. So this doesn't win against Storm. Ant, specifically. Yeah, the Soldier Stompy deck is really fun. I posted my list to the source thread. I haven't checked back to see if they have any feedback on it yet. Yeah, the only reply on the source thread was, try the version with 4 Winter Orm main deck instead of Suppression Field. Suppression Field is like the whole reason to play that deck, so I'm going to ignore that feedback. So most of the people that are here aren't going to be super pumped for Imperial Recruiter specifically, because we get Recruiter of the Guard, which is just better for our purposes. Alright. So, does opponent actually have a kill? Oh, okay, they have LEDs, so yes, they do. Alright, yep. So we were on the draw in game 1, so we lost. That's pretty typical. Game 1, get, turn 2, on the draw. Alright. Canonist and Rips in. Relic Order in. It's awkward, it probably won't do anything, but it might win the game. Recruiter in. Will consider Council's Judgment, depending on what my opponent does. If I remember right, they weren't a Dread of Night build, so I probably won't bring these in. You bring Council's Judgment in if you're scared of Dread of Night. So we'll begin with Swords to Plowshares out. We'll cut some amount of the Stoneforge package. I usually like to leave in the Batterskull for Goblins reasons. Ooh, I guess Selfless Spirit protects from Abrupt Decay in this matchup. We'll probably at least trim 1 Flicker Wisp. It's slow. And trimming 1 Stoneforge is probably fine. WoW stuff like that's allowed in Legacy? Are you talking about like Imperial Recruiter? Do you think it wouldn't be just because it's expensive? Is there a way to differentiate who has Dread of Night versus who has Massacre? Yes, it's very easy. You go to MTG Goldfish and you look at your opponent's deck list and you see which they're playing. That works if you're playing online. Otherwise, no. Oh, the turn 2 win. Yeah, turn 2 wins are pretty common in Legacy. Legacy is very, very powerful, and, like, you can see things very commonly, like, you know, turn 2, put in, like, a Grizzlebrand or an Emrakul, or just go and get the win, like, that way. That's why Force of Will is a very common blue card in Legacy. It's because it goes and stops, like, the most unfair of starts. Oh, Static Grip, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. I do appreciate the support, and I know I've been interacting with you for quite a while and that we've met in person. So in all seriousness, though, you should expect your opponents to have some number of things that can answer your creatures in the post-sideboard games. In recent times, it's been more common that it's something like Abrupt Decay and Chain of Vapor rather than more specialized hate. I don't think my opponent is going off this next turn, pretty much no matter what. I want to get this second Vial into play, and I know that means dropping protection on the Thalia, but they probably can't do much better than bounce the Thalia right now, unless they have Fatal Push in their deck. This gives, like, my opponent a one-turn window to get rid of the Thalia, and they had it. Unfortunate. But this means, like, that I would be able to cast the Mom to protect it after that. I don't mind. It was a calculated risk. Now I have to choose whether I want to stop them from starting to go off or whether I want to stop them from cantripping. So they've pondered twice. They're probably somewhat close to going off. Let's keep them off the black. Rewarded for our choice. And for the record, it is... Oh, sorry, I subbed and then my phone couldn't load the stream. To just, like, repeat what I said, Static Grip, thank you for your support, you know. I know we've chatted a couple of times in person, and I think on some of the forums and stuff. I do appreciate your support. That's a pretty sick draw. I'll put my opponent on threshold for him. How does that sound, chat? I'm such a good guy. I'm a gentleman and a scholar. Definitely not a bully. Not even 1% bully. Don't listen to what the chat tells you. Oh, if he goes Barbarian Ring Lotus Petal, you'll be sorry. I sure will. Not even 1% bully. So I actually probably want to use the Karakas' Lotus Petal to put Mom in because it changes the clock considerably. What do you mean we're drawing pretty lackluster here? We've drawn 2 Wastelands and used them, and drawn a Thalia, and we have a Great Hate Bear with double protection. And 2 ports. We're drawing great. Hello, hello, Bahra. That's a great draw. Hey, Bahra, just to preemptively ask this now, are you interested in streaming? This is going to be my last match for the afternoon, and then I'm going to go and eat. If you're willing to stream, I'm happy to, you know, dump 60 people into your stream. Oh man, the Thalia emote is in the Discord? That's awesome. Yes, you infernal tutor. No, not dead. It's just like... Oh, shit. I am dead. Damn it. Well. We'll show him. We'll show him. Ha! Have at you. Alright, so game 2 there. Lost to natural tendrils for lethal through Revoker on LED. Alright, give me a second to adjust the spreadsheet here. And then I'll say a few closing words. Yeah, that's fine, Bahra. Like, if you need a few minutes to set up the stream, I'm very happy to talk and chat for a few minutes and then host you. Yeah, it was a totally natural tendrils. It was like infinite rituals followed by infinite tutors, and then I'm dead. That's how that works. Okay. So there could have been some things that happened differently that round. I gave my opponent a window to have like land fatal push exactly to get rid of Thalia, and they had that. I dropped Karakas Protection in order to play the second Ether Vial, so that on all following turns, I'd like never need to tap the Karakas again. And they had that there. I think that was a fine calculated risk, and since I had the Revoker as backup, as like another hate piece, I don't regret that line. That's fine, Bahra. I have a few things that I can go and talk about. Just shoot me a message here when you're ready, and I'll host. Okay. So I think that's fine. I don't regret my decision. Like, we still drew very well after that point. We had a ton of things to go and disrupt my opponent. They managed to wiggle through, and they managed to wiggle through without drawing any cantrips. So if at any point in any of those turns they drew a cantrip, then it takes them one more turn in order to go off, at least. So this is okay with me. So to answer a couple of chat questions then. Oh, Phil, I'm considering mainboarding a Rest in Peace for the team open to hedge against Grixis, Delver, Lands, and Storm. Did you see my article I wrote a while back about the main deck Rest in Peace? That has all of my thoughts on it. You know, sort of the TLDR is it's pretty good and it's totally reasonable. In the times where Rest in Peace is good, it is very, very, very good. Lord Czar, yeah, I very much think that sometime within the next couple of years, we will get a Rest in Peace Hate Bear at, like, somewhere between 2 and 3 mana. It might not be Rest in Peace exactly, but it will be something with that sort of effect. And when that happens, it will either be, you know, a main deckable Graveyard Hate card, or a very, very good sideboard card. You know, maybe not replace Rest in Peace good. It depends on, like, the rest of its stats, but that's something that I am realistically looking forward to, and that I really think that we'll get. Yeah, sure, Basic Planes. We did owe to every loss that we had, but they were relatively close, right? Like, the Ant match here, if we're on the play in game 1, we win that one. And, like, the game 2 here was a very, very good, long, drawn-out game. And, you know, one different draw on either side, or, like, one changed decision on either side might have changed the outcome of that match. So, like, what else did we lose to? The losses to Reanimator, I guess you could say were close, but we were kind of on, like, the wrong side of that both times. My opponent had very, very good openers. And then... was the other loss to? Miracles. Yeah, the Miracles won. Like, we played Magic, we tried, but they kept getting answers to whatever we had to disrupt the Jaces, and it didn't work out. My understanding from these team opens is that the top tables end up being Delver, Lands, and Storm. So if you want a good idea of like what to look for a team open, Sean Brown's This Week in Legacy tournament report from, I think it was either this week or last week, has a breakdown of the Worcester Day 2 metagame, and it was a huge percentage Delver. It was I think 25% Grixis Delver, and then like another 6 or 7% of other types of Delver. So I think things that hedge against Delver in both the main and sideboard are very good. And like that's why right now in my mono white lists I'm just like playing 2 extra planes over Cavern of Souls, and why I'm also going and running the third Path to Exile. A white Rec Sage would be great. Leon and Relic Order is not quite what I want. It's kind of like good enough. So, all right, Bahara, I will host you in about 30 seconds here. Just to say a couple of last things on that. My general thoughts on the legacy players of the team events is that in the later rounds, you're going to be playing against really good legacy players who are helping to carry their teams. You know, I am scared of running into like the dedicated legacy players like Honorog, David Long, Daryl Ayers, Bryant Cook, the sort of people who go and specialize on a deck. Those are the people that I'm afraid of playing. I am not afraid of all of the randos that I am going to play that are, playing the team event and rounding out the team. But when you run into some of those really strong teams, you will feel it. All right, folks. For those of you who this was the first time you saw me stream, my normal stream times are Monday and Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock p.m. 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Today's stream was a little weird because I had a snow day. If you enjoyed my content, please follow. The more followers I get, the more streaming I do. And thank you to those of you who subbed today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Bafra, who is also a Death and Taxes streamer.